Well, it's summertime and the living is easy. Well, not really, but if you wear these juiciest citrus fragrances, perhaps it might be easy. So I compiled a list of the wettest, juiciest, drippy, wet citrus fragrances for you today. Nothing is dry here. You know, I've got a lot of citrus fragrance videos on the channel, but as I said, these are the juiciest. If you want to find out what they are, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about the juiciest citrus fragrances. These are the kind that I like. You know, imagine cutting into any juicy citrus fruit when it's ripened and you're slicing it on the counter and it's dripping juice everywhere. That's how these fragrances wear. And you know what? This is what you need when it's really, really hot outside, because this juiciness kind of quenches the thirst that you have when it's really hot and you've got to get cooled off with something very, very citrusy. I do enjoy wearing citrus fragrances. I'm from the Mediterranean and I love a lot of different citruses. And I enjoy wearing them in the summertime. So we're going to go ahead and get started. There's 22 here, and I'm going to do this as fast as possible. We're going to the house of Essential Parfums. It's Nice Bergamot, this one right here. Nice Bergamot is basically a nice bergamot fragrance. It's very juicy and a bit dry with some woods and things like that, but it's an overdose of the juiciness of the bergamot. It has some floralcy. There's also some rose and jasmine here with a bit of Ylang-Ylang. Cedar wood and tonka beans to, round out the fragrance with the base notes. It's pleasant to wear, also under $100. So I'm starting that off with Nice Bergamot from Essential Parfums, and sometimes I can go ahead and say it's Nice Bergamot as well, since it is a French brand. We're going to the house of Armani next with Orangerie Venice, this one, or Venice. This was a love at first sniff when I first discovered it. It's fallen off the list a bit, but it's quite juicy. We've got bitter orange here, Neroli. There's a lot of citruses in addition to the bitter orange. There's Ambroxan, Buchu, Oakmoss, Bergamot, and Cedar. So it's an overdose of citruses. I'm enjoying a little of the other fragrances more than this one, so it's kind of lower, but still a great, pleasant fragrance for you to check out. Orangerie Venice from the house of Armani. Check that out if you don't know it. This was a love for me, but it's kind of fallen off the list a bit. This is GOUTAL Paris's Eau d'Adrienne, this one right here. It's quite juicy, but it's gotten thinner for me. I'm experiencing thinness about this one when it used to be very pulpy and thick when I first started wearing this in the 90s. But it's a lemons overdose with Cypress. There's Citron, Grapefruit, and Mandarin orange. There's some woods in there as well to kind of give it a balance with the base notes, but it's an overdose of very juicy citruses. So Eau d'Adrienne, if you like it tart and lemony, check that out. I have another fragrance coming up that's kind of sort of similar to that, but a lot more beefier. You'll find out in a bit. But going to the house of ACQUA di Parma, this is Bergamotto di Calabria, this one right here. And again, it's a bergamot fragrance and very, very juicy. It features bergamot with citron. There's also some zingy ginger, vetiver, and cedar. So of course it does settle to a woody base, but it's all citruses, a bit tart, a bit floral up top with the bergamot note. So that's Bergamotto di Calabria from ACQUA di Parma. Then moving on to the house of Laboratorio Olfattivo, citrus fragrances created by Jean-Claude Ylena. This is Arancia Rossa. This one right here. So waiting on Pompelmo, the latest release from this house, but Arancia Rossa is definitely a really nice fruity take on blood orange. Basically it translates to blood orange. So it has Italian blood orange, orange flowers, passion fruit, and white musk. It's a bit simplistic, but definitely the style of Jean-Claude Ylena's fragrances. He does fragrances really well like this. He has a kind of a minimalist approach to his creations and definitely smells great. My second favorite in the collection next to Mandarino, but we're going to have to wait for Pompelmo when that comes out. When I smelled it at Aix-en-Provence, it smelled really, really great, but I haven't compared to the other two that I really enjoy. But either way, Arancia Rossa from the house of Laboratorio Olfattivo is at number 18. Moving on to the house of Celine, it's Parade, this one right here. This was my second favorite love from this house next to Dom Paris. Really enjoy these fragrances, but then now I've become really obsessed with Black Tie. But still, still, this is a very juicy take on citruses, but also it focuses on the flowers of the citruses in addition to the juiciness of the fruits themselves. So it has vetiver, neroli, bergamot, oakmoss, and musk. They seem to use a lot of oakmoss in their fragrances and also a lot of orris in their fragrances, and definitely it's a bit substantial here in the base notes when it's drying down, but it's lots of bergamot and lots of neroli together with the vetiver. It smells fantastic. It's very sparkling, it's very effervescent, and really delicious citruses. Very, very juicy. So this is Parade from the house of CELINE. That is at number 17. One thing I forgot to mention, I decided to put the video together not focusing a lot on citrus flowers, but we'll have some come up in various fragrances here and there. But I wanted to make sure I used I featured the floral fragrances, the citrus floral fragrances in like Neroli and Orange Blossom videos, but you'll see some come up. But we're going to the house of Laboratorio Olfattivo once again. This time it's Mandarino, this one right here. My favorite of the collection of the citruses from Laboratorio Olfattivo created by Jean-Claude Ilena. This one features Italian tangerine, blackcurrant, and white musk. And you know, you do have a bit of fruitiness, but it's not as fruity as the Arancio Rossa, which is kind of a tropical fruitiness here. It's blackcurrant. It melts beautifully, or melds beautifully with the overdose of the Italian tangerine here. It's very juicy and sparkling and effervescent. Again, it's minimalist kind of a fragrance, not lots of notes, and focusing on just like a couple of different notes to give you a very fresh, juicy, citrusy experience. So it's Mandarino from Laboratorio Olfattivo. Check that out if you don't know it. Going to the house of Atelier d'Azur. This is Blanc Polychrome, this one right here. I should shake this so you can see the gold flakes floating around. It's really beautiful the way the gold flakes float around in this. Really hypnotizing. This is a very fresh, tart citrus take on a fragrance. It has mandarin orange with lemons, a bit of fruitiness from the rhubarb. There's a solar accord here. There's petitgrain, jasmine, fig leaf, lavender, ambroxan, musk, and moss. A beautiful, beautiful fragrance. One of the best from this house, although it's a citrus from this house, and they generally do better, more you know, kind of like beefier fragrances, more intense styles, but they do have some great freshies out there as well. And this one's definitely one of the best from this house. And it's really, really great. The juiciness of the citruses, along with some fruity touches and green touches, floral touches and things like that. Really beautiful, thirst quenching for the hot summers. So this is Blanc Polychrome from the house of Atelier d'Azur. Moving on to the house of Mancera, this is Soleil d'Italie, this one right here. I decided to leave off the Cedrat Boisé. Those kind of fragrances are very, very popular because this one's really juicy as well, and it's a different kind of a citrus fragrance, whereas the other one kind of has that Aventus vibe. This is loads and loads of citruses along with aquatic watery notes. There's white musk, cardamom, pink pepper, ambergris, patchouli, rose, vetiver, and cedar. It's very, very complex. It's very, very thick, heavy kind of a fragrance, but really, really fresh, really juicy, because it doesn't really tell you what kind of citruses are here, but I'm assuming there's like bergamot, mandarin, lemons, lime, even oranges and grapefruit and things like that. And it's kind of like a cornucopia of different fragrances, different citruses that are juiced together to be featured here. Really beautiful. Soleil d'Italie from the house of Mancera is at number 14. Going to the house of Xerjoff. This is the first of two fragrances from Xerjoff. This is Neo, this one right here. So this is Neo, yeah. Neo is a bergamot fragrance. It's a lightly old school to me as well. It smells great. For me, when I wear it, sometimes I get something like an old school barbershop-like experience, but more focusing on the citruses. And I think it's some of the base notes that are in here. There's some aromatics, some woods and things like that. But it's an overdose of bergamot with vetiver, jasmine, neroli, pink pepper, green leaves, and gaiac wood. Really thirst quenching. Really, really a great freshie that you can wear liberally and very, very juicy citrus experience. So this is Neo from the house of Xerjoff. Check that out if you don't know it. It's a wonderful fragrance. Then moving on to the house of Louis Vuitton. This is one of two fragrances. This is Pacific Chill. Here we have an overdose of juicy citruses with fruits and also aromatics together. And I keep saying it's kind of like a health drink experience. To me, it smells like a cocktail without the alcohol in it. So imagine, you know, macerating all these different ingredients together, the fruits, the citruses, and the aromatics like herbs, crushing it together and mixing it up maybe like a smoothie or something. That's what it smells like. It's very, very fresh. It's very, very juicy, very, very fruity, and also aromatic. It does also remind me of Afternoon Swim from Louis Vuitton, but I feel like they've taken Afternoon Swim and they've made it into a fruity, aromatic, you know, fragrance. But either way, really delicious. Pacific Chill from the house of Louis Vuitton, great fragrance. Check it out if you haven't yet. Up next, going to the house of Paris, Monte Carlo. This is Neroli Mediterraneo. Here we have a Neroli focused fragrance, and I haven't really discussed this fragrance much in any videos, and I wanted to feature it. Even though it's Neroli Mediterraneo, it does focus on a lot of different citruses because it has bitter orange, mandarin orange, bergamot, and it also has petitgrain, neroli, orange blossom, geranium, musk, and ginger. It's a fantastic fragrance. Sure, this one is very, very juicy, but also very floral because it does have the neroli and orange blossom, but you're basically swimming in a lot of different citruses, and you experience the juiciness of the different citruses here. Very, very beautiful, very drippy, very wet, and also floral. This is Paris Monte Carlo's Neroli Mediterraneo. Wonderful, wonderful fragrance. Moving on to the house of Guerlain. This is Mandarin Basilic, this one right here. This one is a great mandarin orange fragrance with basil notes. So to me, it also reminds me a bit of Afternoon Swim from Louis Vuitton, but minus, well, in addition to the Afternoon Swim, you've got that basil aromatic herbal touch here as well. But either way, it's bitter orange, neroli, citruses, buchu, bergamot, and basil. A great freshie, wonderful wear, and again, very, very fresh and juicy here with the mandarin orange, and perfect for summertime when you're needing some really, you know, juicy kind of drippy citrus fragrances to wear and to kind of fight the heat of the summer. So Mandarin Basilic from the house of Guerlain, a wonderful fragrance that is at number 10. Next, going to the house of Parfumum Roma. This is Orangeria, this one right here. Orangeria is ranked a little lower because I find it not extremely juicy, but definitely very, very juicy in comparison to a second fragrance from the house that I have as well, coming up much later. But Orangeria is petitgrain to the max with bergamot, cedar, and mint. There's a bit of a tropical touch in here, almost like a beachy undertone, kind of a creamy undertone, but very fresh with the bergamot and the petitgrain note. You've got this overdose of greenness here, freshness, and again, as I was saying, a little bit of something tropical beachy under there, which gives you a kind of a creamy vibe. But it's an overdose of the juiciness, as I was saying, and it wears beautifully in the heat of the summer, but it is a wonderful fragrance. One of my favorite from the Parfumum Roma collection of fragrances, Orangeria, is wonderful. If you like the green bitterness of the orange tree, you've got to check that out for sure, because it's basically paying tribute to the leaves, the petitgrain leaves. But next, going to the house of Goldfield and Banks, it's Bohemian Lime. This one right here. Bohemian Lime is finger lime to the max, and it's a new note for me when this first came out. Never had heard of finger lime before, but when I experienced this fragrance, it smells super fantastic and also very, very juicy. But for me, there's a spiciness. I think there's coriander seeds here, and when I wear this one, it wears like I'm smelling Moscow Mule cocktails because there's something zingy and spicy in here. I think most likely coming from that coriander seeds, but it's an overdose of the finger lime in addition to the bergamot with its juicy floral touches, and then of course the coriander and some woods under there as well. Really, really beautiful fragrance, and it smells super fantastic and very, very juicy. It's Bohemian Lime from the house of Goldfield and Banks. A great release. And this next one is the second Parfumum Roma fragrance. We've got Aqua Viva here. So Aqua Viva is Parfumum Roma's take on Eau d'Adrienne. I find them to be kind of similar smelling. If I can get that focused. Come on now. So they kind of remind me of one another, and as I was saying earlier, for me, Parfumum Roma is beefier. It's got a lot more thickness here, and it has great longevity. Compared to the GOUTAL Paris, seems a bit watered down. That's the Eau de Parfum version. But if you like Eau d'Adrienne, try Aqua Viva, because once again, it's paying tribute to lemons here with cypress and cedar. It's very juicy, tart, a bit astringent and sour, and those are the kind of fragrances that are perfect in the humid heat if you live in those kind of places, or heat in general. It smells fantastic. And if you love lemons, this is perfect lemon fragrance. Aqua Viva from Profumum Roma is a wonderful fragrance from this house. If you don't know it, check it out. Then moving on to the house of commodity, it's Nectar. This one right here. For me, Nectar is like a take on Jo Malone's Orange Blossom, in that it does remind me of Orange Blossom from Jo Malone, because you're smelling like authentic orange blossoms in an orange grove where the trees have just blossomed with all these orange blossom flowers. To me, it smells like that, plus juiciness of a lot of like juiced citruses. So much. There's like grapefruity touch here, and it smells super fantastic. With neroli, there's also honeysuckle, pomelo, Italian tangerine, orange blossom, liquid musk, bergamot, cedar, and vetiver. So juicy, so perfect. This is a combination of, you know, all of the citrus flowers and also the citrus fruits together. Once again, smells fantastic and very juicy. So it's Nectar from the house of commodity. If you don't know that one, do check it out. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites from that house. But next, going to the house of Xerjoff once again. This is Torino 21. This is a lemony, juicy fragrance with also verbena, and then there's an overdose of mint in here. So it's almost like a mint lemon juice drink or tea kind of an experience here. Really fantastic, but very juicy altogether. Also kind of cozy and calming as well. There's something kind of very therapeutic and calming about this fragrance when I wear it. It reminds me of the days when my grandmother used to give me lemons mint tea for some reason, which kind of for me has this subconscious calming effect. And for me, this fragrance kind of reminds me of it and also gives you that kind of a feel. But it's a super fantastic fragrance with the lemons and the mint and the verbena and the musk. There's basil here as well, blackcurrant. So it's aromatics like herbs with the citrusy touches. Super delicious fragrance. Torino 21 is at number 5. Wonderful fragrance. Let me know if you've tried that one. I know everyone tells me after they smell Torino 21 they really love it and end up getting a bottle as well. And a friend of mine wears it and he swears that it lasts all day on him, and I'm like, yeah, I can tell, because that one for some reason has a kind of a clinging power for a freshie. But moving on to the next fragrance, going to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This is Petite Matin, this one right here. This is probably the juiciest of all of the citruses from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and you can really experience the freshly juiced lemons that are in here. It's not as tart as other lemony fragrances. There's a softness about it and a sweetness about it, which I really love. And it's meshed with orange blossom, musk, lavender, ambroxan, and hawthorn. What a wonderful fragrance this is. This is really beautiful and uber juicy for those hot summer days. Petite Matin is a wonderful fragrance from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. That's at number 4. Moving on to the house of Le Labo. This is my favorite Le Labo, my favorite bergamot fragrance. This is Bergamot 22. I know people complain about its performance. Yeah, I have to replenish throughout the day or use some kind of a primer or a booster like Molecule 1, Molecule 2 to kind of extend the life a bit. But for me, it is a very intoxicating citrus fragrance with bergamot, vetiver, grapefruit, orange blossom, petitgrain, musk, and cedar. The smell is super fantastic. It smells so good. Really love this one. Smells amazing. I absolutely love it. And it's uber juicy. So this is Bergamot 22 from Le Labo. If you don't know that one, do check it out. This next one at number 2 is a fairly new fragrance, and I'm surprised how great this smells. This is from the house of Fleur. This is Tangerine Boy. Tangerine Boy, oh my god, the tangerine is the juiciest here. I can actually see myself, juicing tangerines, and it's getting all over the countertop with all its juice going everywhere because it's just very drippy. That's how this one wears. It has tangerine with lemons, ginger, black pepper. There's apple, there's jasmine, amber, and moss, and it's super fresh. Very fresh. It's not tart, it's sweet, but really wonderful tangerine fragrance. This is Tangerine Boy. Have you guys tried that one? Do try it. It's super amazing. I love its juiciness. I'm saying juicy quite a bit in this video because we're talking about juicy fragrances, and we're going to end the list with this fragrance from the house of Louis Vuitton. This is Afternoon Swim right here. This happens to be a really great fragrance. It has a really great sexy trail, fresh trail, so it's not uber intense and heavy, but there's something in the DNA of this one that's also in the DNA of the Louis Vuitton imagination. Did you catch my Louis Vuitton fragrances video? Go catch it. I talk about imagination in that video. But something in the DNA of these two fragrances that has this very sexy trail, and I love this one for that reason. But it's Mandarin Orange, Bergamot, Ginger, and Ambergris. It has a bit of zing, but it's so juicy. It's wet, drippy juiciness from a Mandarin Orange and Bergamot. People think this is aquatic because it is blue after all. It is inspired by swimming, but it's so citrusy and juicy. Check it out. It is fantastic. Love the smell. Mandarin Orange to the max, and I absolutely love it. Anyway, that's the list of 22 juiciest citrus fragrances list for you. Let me know if you like these fragrances. Let me know if you don't. And let me know if you know of any other juicy, citrusy fragrances. Put a comment down so I can find out. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. And stay tuned for 2 bonus fragrances that are on the budget side. So see you guys later. Bye-bye. And as promised, 2 bonus offerings. We're going to start off the first one with Le Monde Gourmand's Clementine Bisou. This one right here. Do you guys know this house? Their fragrances are so inexpensive. It's a 30 ml bottle, but they sell them for around 25 bucks. This, to me, is so realistic smelling for the price point. I absolutely love the way it smells. It's really juicy, extremely juicy, with clementines, frangipani, and sandalwood. So it's a woody dry down, and also has a, you know, a tropical floralcy about it. But the clementine is like the overdose in this, the main prominent note, and it smells super fantastic. And for 25 bucks, you can, you know, buy this one and use it up all summer long. You could just spritz liberally and smell fantastic. The next fragrance is also a budget fragrance, and this is 4711's ACQUA Colonia collection. It's blood orange and basil. So this one is kind of like a similar idea to the Mandarin Basilic from Guerlain, but this is an eau de cologne, so that you're going to have to spray liberally. But the smell is really realistic, and I love that about this particular fragrance. But, you know, it's very simplistic. You can totally overspray this stuff, and it's not going to overwhelm or, you know, turn off anybody around you, because you're going to smell the realistic smell of the blood orange and the basil note here. So this is 4711 ACQUA Colonia blood orange and basil. Fairly inexpensive for a 170 ml bottle. It is eau de cologne, as I said, and the pricing is not really high. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for another video soon. Bye-bye.